Your window on moving to Mexico is closing rapidly. You need an exit plan now. Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the fact that it's actually going to get a lot more difficult to move to Mexico as time moves forward. I'm sure you guys are fully aware that there are pretty obvious reasons as to why it's going to be a lot more difficult for you as a person from the United States of America to move out here to Mexico these days. It's not just the political tension, but on top of all that, well, Mexico's also getting more expensive. And not just Mexico getting more expensive, but life for you in the United States is getting more expensive. You're making less money. You have less US dollars in order for you to make this transition and this move. As you're trying to figure out, moving out here to Mexico, you're starting to see things are not as easy as you originally thought. And I could go on and on and on. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be discussing the very real things that are affecting all of you guys out there in the audience as of right now, moving forward, when it pertains to moving out here to Mexico. Because look, let's just get right into it. The reality is that ever since Donald Trump entered office, there has been increasing tensions between Mexico and the United States of America. Some of you guys in the audience are in favor of his actions, and some of you guys are not in favor of his actions. Regardless, if you are thinking of moving to Mexico, this is affecting you. For example, as it pertains to residency, which is something that's very important to everyone out there in the audience. As of the recording of this video, we have already been hearing rumors that the RNE program is going to be suspended. Now, again, I don't want to confirm anything yet because we've only just recently got this news as of the publishing of this video. As of right now, only a handful of offices have temporarily stopped processing RNE applications for residency. There has been no official word from the federal government as of yet, so that's why I haven't published any kind of video or talked about this yet to you guys out there in the audience. The minute that we have more information, I will let you know. Now, me personally, what do I think? I think that, again, this happens from time to time, that they do suspend the program in certain areas just because, again, many different reasons, sometimes oversaturation of applicants and so on and so forth. But out here in Merida, just like in other parts of the country, there has been absolutely no problems, and everything is business as usual as of right now. But with all that said, the reality is that is a threat, a looming threat for a lot of people out there that were counting on getting their residency through the RNE program. Again, I go into more detail as to what that program is and how you can get your residency through that program, assuming it's still available. Bruh. But with that said, that's something that's looming over everyone's head. Another thing that is changing is the increasing prices to all your immigration fees, all your immigration processes, everything you got to pay the government. Why? Because, well, Mexico knows fully well what's going on. They understand that there's a lot of Americans that are moving to Mexico, whether it's retirees or digital nomads or just regular people like you and me out there in the audience. Well, you guys are moving out here to Mexico. Everyone has their reasons as to why they're moving to Mexico, but one of the main things is the fact that we all need residency. And, well, Mexico fully understands the fact that a lot of Americans want to move and live out here in Mexico and spend their dollars out here. So they're making the residency process as easy as possible, but they're also charging you for it. So don't be surprised when you go to get your immigration papers done that all of a sudden things are going to be a lot more expensive than they were just the last time you even inquired. Again, whether you're getting your residency through traditional means, you're going to a Mexican consulate in the United States, and you're going to apply for residency through financial solvency, well, they're increasing the amount that you need to prove in order for you to move out to Mexico. Now, again, a little caveat, basically how it works out is that when you're applying for residency through financial solvency, the older you are, the less you need to prove of monthly income. All right. The younger you are, the more you're required to prove of monthly income and other assets in order for you to move to Mexico. So again, I don't know what the numbers are today as of right now, as of the recording of this video, but I do know that again, every single year and periodically they keep going up and up and up. And on top of that, each consulate, all right, it's up to their discretion as to whether or not, they're going to approve you or not. Many people have been declined simply because they are off by $10, and other people have been approved and they have been off by $2,000. So again, it's on a case by case basis, it's on a consulate by consulate basis, and there are many variables involved. And now with the political tensions involved, well, I think that that's only going to get worse, meaning that some of the consulates out there that have been notoriously bad and not really have a high approval rate, well, that's going to go even lower. They're going to be declining people even more. But at the end of the day, I think all around, all consulates are probably going to be a little bit more strict, just as, again, tensions rise between the US and Mexico. Again, getting residency through financial solvency is not the only way. There are other ways in which you can get residency, and one of the other ways that you can get residency is through the RNE program. Again, the RNE program, El Registro Nacional de Extranjeros, which basically translates to the National Registry of Foreigners, that RNE program is still alive and well. In fact, they just renewed it again for 2025, and we're expecting the federal government to continue renewing this program every year going forward. Again, we talk more in detail on residency, the RNE program, and all that stuff in other videos that I have on this channel. In fact, check out the rest of my channel and my YouTube page for all kinds of free information on moving to Mexico. But as I was mentioning earlier, we did a live stream not too long ago where we were going over the new fees for the RNE program, and they increased exponentially. And this was before a lot of the craziness between the United States and Mexico when as it comes to the political strife. So I can only imagine how much higher it's going to get in the next year and going forward. Another thing that I've been seeing recently in my travels online while I'm researching, for the videos that I'm going to be making for you guys, I saw on a few other YouTube channels that are in Spanish that basically interview Mexicans that live on the border, in the Tijuana area, Mexicali area, and so on and so forth. And, long story short, they were interviewing locals that own shops. They were interviewing real estate agents and that rent out to Americans that, move out to those areas and live in those areas of Mexico. And again, long story short, real estate agents these days out there in those areas, and I'm sure out here in this area and in other areas of Mexico, real estate agents these days, they're being a lot more strict when they're asking for proof of immigration, proof of work, maybe even a credit check, again, depending on where you're moving to. Now, again, obviously, if you're moving to certain places out there, they're not asking for much. They're just asking you for the simple deposit, simple ID, and you're good to go. But there are a lot of places, especially the places that are a lot more popular with Americans these days. Well, they're, being a lot more strict. And again, a lot of it has to do with the past behavior of Americans, okay, in these properties or in these places, and nothing to do with Trump. Okay, the reality is that now with Trump in office and all the things that he's doing, that's only made the situation a little bit worse. And again, what do I mean? Well, in the past, there's been a lot of Americans that have moved out to Mexico and they've rented a place and they've acted a fool exactly as they would do in the USA. What do I mean? Well, again, they'll have loud parties in these apartments thinking, hey, I'm in Mexico, I can do whatever I want. They do a litany of other things. Again, they'll have pets in the house when they're not supposed to. They tear up the whole house. They'll have fights in the house, between couples and, break the whole house. I mean, you can imagine back in the day, a lot of Mexicans, were more willing to rent to an American or a Canadian simply because they thought, well, okay, these guys, they for sure have the money. And on top of that, they're going to behave. They're going to be the greatest tenant ever. Well, again, as the years have gone on, sure, some Americans, some Canadians that have moved out here are amazing tenants, the best tenants, okay? Like me, for example, I pay my rent early. I'm amazing. I fix up the house. I do a lot of things that the Mexicans don't do. So there's a lot of great tenants out there. But with that said, there's also a lot of horrible tenants out there, and I've heard a bunch of horror stories. And when I was watching these videos recently, I was reminded of a lot of these horror stories, because again, they were interviewing Mexican real estate agents that are growing tired of dealing with so many Americans coming over and basically renting a place, wrecking the place, not paying rent, and just basically being the worst tenants ever. And again, as political tensions rise, again, a lot of real estate agents out there, they're being a lot more strict in their vetting process when it comes to just renting to any old American. So now, they're looking a little deeper than whether you can afford it or not. In fact, they're saying in many cases that they don't care how much money you got. Again, if you're a bad person, bad renter, they don't want you. They were talking about how a lot of these real estate agents, they have their own WhatsApp groups and things like that, and they talk amongst themselves. And again, for let's say an American comes out here, or it doesn't matter, just any renter in general, someone will rent the place, wreck the place, not pay rent, leave, and then they're looking for another place to rent, and all of a sudden they cannot find a place to rent, and it's because, well, all the other realtors are communicating with each other, and whenever someone goes out there and makes a mess and does something, as a bad tenant, well, all the realtors are telling each other, hey, stay away from John, stay away from Becky, stay away from Miguel, whatever, okay?
Bruh.
So where once upon a time it was very, very easy for us Americans to come out here and find a place to live, well, as more and more of these horror stories are becoming more of the normal, well, it's not as easy to rent a place, and they might be asking for more money, more deposits, and they might be, again, being more strict with you, and you might be getting insulted thinking, oh, they're giving me the gringo price, oh, they don't like me, oh, they're being racist, oh, listen, it might be all of the above or none of the above. It doesn't matter. It's business, and it's not personal. It's just business, and that's just the reality of it. And so obviously, if all of a sudden now they think that you could possibly wreck their apartment or their house, they're just simply not going to rent it to you. Where once upon a time an American renter, an American tenant was something that was highly coveted, well, not so much these days. Another thing is that, well, a lot of you guys out there are always complaining about, oh, these Mexicans are always nickel and diming me, and they're always, gringo pricing me. Look, the reality is that most Mexican these days, they know fully well that most of you guys out there are broke.
Bruh.
That's it. All right. And it's as simple as that. And so where many years ago, again, yes, most gringos that come out here, most Americans that come out here, most Mexicans would look at you guys, look at us as dollar signs. But again, as more and more of us have come out here, they've realized, oh, wait a minute, these guys are broker than us. These guys have less money than us. These guys are complaining more about the cost of living than us. So look, listen, it's gotten around. Most Mexicans already know that most of you guys, most of us are broke. Sure, they know there's a few of you that have money and might even show it out here, like you got money out here, but they also know that, yeah, sure, you might have or look like you have money out here, but they know you ain't got nothing in the USA, which is why you're probably living out here. So, and again, it's not just the money, but there's many reasons as to why a lot of us are moving out here and living out here. Sure, the political situation, and sure, the situation at home is only getting worse each and every day. But again, they only know that that's part of it, and there's other factors involved. And it's not just, you're moving out here because you're rich, or you're moving out here because you're retired. No, most of us out here are moving because we're getting out of Dodge. We're escaping before it's too late, and we're not going to be able to leave. All right, that's really the reality of it. And a lot of us, just like any other immigrant entering the country, we don't have as much money or resources as they think we do. And they see that more and more each and every day. So with that said, if you're out there, constantly complaining about how expensive things are, and you're always asking yourself, oh, how do the Mexicans afford it? Listen, because they work hard. Okay. And again, they can afford it. That's why the economy here is booming as opposed to the opposite of what's going on in the USA. All right. So out here, yeah, things are getting expensive. There is inflation, but it's nothing compared to what is going on in the USA. All right. And so if all of a sudden you come out here and life is too difficult and too expensive for you, you're not going to find any Mexican that's going to be playing you a little violin or really having any sympathy or caring too much about your plight or your situation. Because guess what? Many Americans did not care and still do not care about all the immigrants in the USA and that have gone through the USA for generations upon generations. Okay. And again, even now with the deportations that are going on, how many Mexicans out here are looking at, video after video of basically ICE and, the American immigration out there. They're going after the farmer, the roofer, the guy that's doing the plumbing in your house. They're going after those guys, and they're not going after the gangs. They're not going after the bad hombres. They're not going after anything like that. So, again, and how many Mexicans that have been there for generations, how many immigrants that have been there for generations. So, again, there's a lot of resentment out there within the Mexican community. Again, in the USA and out here in Mexico, because for all the things that Trump has done, every single one of those things, it feels like an insult to Mexico and to Mexicans. For a lot of people out there, the reality is that the reason you don't make this move and you don't do this change, and you're always going to find excuses and find reasons as to not making the move, is simply because, well, you're afraid. You're afraid of coming out to another country and starving or not finding a job or struggling or going through difficulty and not really knowing what to do. Well, listen, I'm sorry to break it to you, okay? But the same thing is happening to you right now in your own country, okay? Think about it. Right now, you are starving, living a life that you hate, okay? So why not come out here to Mexico and starve doing something you love? Now, when I say the word starve, I'm using that word figuratively. It's not just about food per se. It's also about, starving when it comes to many other factors, okay? Financially, it might be, again, you're starving culturally, you're starving in many things. So if you come out here to Mexico, yeah, you're going to be struggling. It's going to be very difficult, but you're not going to be starving culturally. You're not going to be starving, when it comes to food. You can at least afford a couple tacos. You're not going to be starving as much as you're going to be starving in the USA. Again, I saw earlier today an interview with a lady that moved out here to Mexico 10 years ago. All right. And the reason that she moved out here 10 years ago is because, well, she basically married a Mexican, all right, and this Mexican was illegal, all right, and they deported him. And well, they had a family, they had kids, they had everything, and well, she really didn't have much of a choice, but she had to move to Mexico. And well, it was the best decision that she ever made. Again, I don't want to spoil it too much for you guys, but in the interview, she basically lived a very hard life. She even worked the fields, okay, because it was the best job that she could find at the given time when, she was doing that. Again, her early 20s, I think, 18, 19, 20 years old. That's where she met her husband, okay? But she's someone that was already used to adversity, and obviously, when this whole thing happened with the deportation of her husband, it was not easy. And the fact that she was used to hardship, made it easy for her, okay, to make the move out here to Mexico. And again, as difficult as it was, she had to grab the kids and get in the car and just drive out here, okay. And anyways, long story short, ever since she's been out here, her life has only gotten better and better and better, to the point where now she has a job in Mexico, all right, and she makes more money than any job she would be making in the US right now at the moment. And what does she do for a living? Which I was curious, I'm glad that she brought it up. She actually is the manager of a call center in Mexico. And guess what? What do you, what, you were thinking to yourself, a call center? It's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of call centers in Mexico. And from what she was explaining, she got the job because she knows English and she's able to answer phones in English. And, she was looking for any kind of job and she worked her way up and now she's like the manager. But anyway, she was explaining that most of the workers there, most of the employees where she works at the call center are people that come from the USA, okay, that don't speak any Spanish. Simple as that. They only speak a very little Spanish, and they need a job. A lot of them, have been deported, believe it or not, because again, they were brought to the USA when they were very young, and they all they know is the USA. They were raised in the USA. They're basically Americans that know English, speak English, just like you and me, and basically they got deported to Mexico. Imagine that you get deported to your native land, wherever your grandparents came from, Poland, England, Canada, I don't know, Dominican Republic. Okay, imagine that all of a sudden you get deported back to Cuba. You get deported back to Poland. You get deported back to whatever, and you don't know Polish. You don't know whatever language that your grandparents came from. So, anyways, a lot of people have been deported throughout the years. This is nothing new. And so they end up landing in a place like Mexico City. They need a job, and all they know is English. All right, and they're Mexican. They got their Mexican citizenship. But again, they need a good high paying job, and so now again they're able to work in a call center for one of these companies out there that needs low wage workers that speak English. All right. So look, long story short, what I was trying to get at with that is the fact that if you want it bad enough, you can get it. Okay. I remember years ago when I first moved out here 7 years ago. My hopes, for work, were very minuscule. Minuscule, all right? Why? Because, well, again, my English not so good sometimes. And, me teaching English, that whole idea was like, man, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not an English teacher, whatever. And so, I was able to make money online, working as a digital nomad, again, a self-employed entrepreneur, getting gigs on my own, again, being a, self-starter, whatever. Anyways, the point is that I always had that in the back of my mind. No, I might have to teach English. I might have to do something else. I might have to whatever if the YouTube thing doesn't work out. But for a lot of people, they don't have any of those options, okay? And they don't even know what to do. And again, I remember years ago when I would watch, YouTube channels like the Kinetic Keenans. By the way, shout out to them out there. I saw that they're back on YouTube making videos again. And again, congrats to their kids. I see that they got one and another on the way. But anyways, long story short, they were a huge inspiration to me because I saw that they came out here and they were living their very minimalistic life. They were teaching English, they were doing that whole thing. And I was like, oh man, okay, I can do it. They're doing it. I can do it. And I came out here and I did it. Again, I didn't have to get like a job, but they did. They gave me hope. Sure, they weren't making money, but they were living the dream life at a very young age. And that's what I wanted. That's all I wanted. So it was just, kind of putting all those priorities and all those things put together. So look, for a lot of people out there, again, you guys can come out here. Again, I've discussed this at length. Again, I got videos explaining in detail, and I got links on my website with tons of job sites. If you want it bad enough, you can do it. Sure, you're not going to get paid an American wage, for a lot of these jobs, but you're going to be getting paid dollars, and you're going to be getting paid a lot more than a typical Mexican is, for just doing the same job or a similar job. Why? Because you have skills that they don't. One of them being speaking English, believe it or not. So there's many things you can do, whether it's a traditional job, an online job, or whatever, you can make it happen. Okay. So the reality is that as time goes on, as they make it more and more difficult for you to leave the country, again, because they got you more connected to the digital grid. Now, all of a sudden, you might not be able to get one of those digital jobs, and I can go on and on. Again, the window is closing, the figurative window is closing. All these easy paths to moving to Mexico are closing. Again, getting residency in Mexico is easy now. It's still relatively inexpensive to live out here in Mexico. You can still get a job if you want it. All right. And I can go on and on. Okay. There's so many things that are in your favor right now. But again, the longer you wait, the more difficult it's going to be for you to get a job or maintain a good job or even find a job that's going to pay you enough. Because again, maybe, by the time you wait long enough, well, Mexico's going to get too expensive and it's not going to be affordable for you anymore. You're going to have to really live in squalor. All right. The residency thing, well, you don't know if that could disappear tomorrow, or you might not be able to afford it, meaning that sure, you might be able to qualify for the R&E program, but by the time that you get it in a few years, it might be way too expensive and you didn't plan ahead and you didn't save enough money. And now what? Now you're screwed. And so, again, it's just so many things in play here. So again, the quicker you act, the better it's going to be for you. And I know for a lot of you guys out there that don't have much ties to the USA, it's going to be a lot easier for you. But for a lot of you guys out there that have ties to the USA, you still might have your parents out there. You got family out there. You got things that are connecting you to the USA. Well, it's going to get more and more difficult to disconnect. So start figuring that out now before it's too late. Now, again, I want to reiterate, I'm making these videos for people that have already made up their mind that this is what they want to do. I'm not trying to convince anyone out here, okay? Again, you can watch all of my videos on my channel where I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between about what life out here in Mexico is actually like. So for some of you guys, it's a dream scenario to live out here in Mexico. And for some of you, it's not so dreamy at all right? In fact, you would rather just stay in the USA and deal with whatever it is coming your way. But again, at the end of the day, guys, as the old saying goes, either shit or get off the pot. All right. And so, a lot of you guys are just in limbo. You guys have, still trying to figure out what you're going to do. You're not going to do. You're trying to do this. You're trying to figure that out. You're trying to plan for the future. You're trying to listen. You don't have that much time. Okay. Again, I don't think that this is going to end tomorrow. I don't think that it's going to, end in a year or anything like that. Okay. I think that honestly, the window's always going to be open. But all I'm trying to say is that, you're getting fatter and that window's getting smaller. And you're going to have to fit through that window one way or the other. And the quicker you do this, the easier it's going to be for you to get from one side to the other. All right. For you to make that transition, for you to get to that life that you've always wanted. And again, it might not be Mexico at all. It might be living somewhere else. It might be traveling the world. I don't know what your dreams or aspirations are, but all I know is that you're not achieving them in the USA, so you better get out of there so you can get somewhere where you can achieve your dreams, okay? Whatever they are, all right? So, with all that being said, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to all of you guys out there that have helped support the show throughout the years. I cannot believe that we're already at 30,000 subscribers or close to 30,000 subscribers, but wow. Holy guacamole. I want to give a big shout out to all of you guys out there in the audience that have helped made that possible. Thank you so much for, again, all the love and support throughout the years. Thank you so much, again, for helping me, support the show, whether it's becoming a member of the channel, a patron, sending a few bucks here or there, buying a t-shirt, whatever it is you do to help support the show. Thank you so much. And look, for a lot of you guys out there in the audience that can barely afford, to even buy something from the dollar menu at McDonald's. I know it doesn't exist. Anyways, the point is that your support by helping me, again, spread awareness by spreading these videos like a virus that I am, by giving the like button, by whatever it is you do. Again, leaving a comment down below, it helps a lot, and I really, really, really appreciate you guys, okay? And again, guys, with all that being said, if you guys want more information, please check out the rest of my channel, check out my free website. Again, if you want to set up a one-on-one consultation with me and you're going to have a, one-on-one talk about anything where I can answer all of your questions and then some. Again, no time limit. Just want to make sure I can answer all your questions. Listen, go to my website and find out exactly how you can link up with me and get a one-on-one paid consultation, and I can help you with everything and anything you need. So again, with all that being said, guys, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for putting up with me. Thanks again so much for all your love and support, and you already know the deal. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to please like, please subscribe, please share, please hit the bell icon. But more importantly than anything else, please stay awesome. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.